Welcome to the Wish I'd Known Then podcast, where we focus on how authors found success, looking at strategies that have taken them to the top of the bestseller charts, as well as what they've learned from their mistakes. Because being an indie author is more than knowing the latest marketing trend. It's about being innovative and creative and learning from your mistakes.
Welcome to the Wish I'd Known Then podcast. I'm Sarah Rosette.
And I'm Jamie Albright. And this week on the show we have
Raythe.
Yeah, we do. It was so good, y'all. I was completely blown away.
Right. She shocked us with her, just how prolific she is and how much she's doing. She does have a big team to help her, but she writes serials and just the amount of content that she writes. And she has a podcast that she does as a lead magnet kind of thing. And her membership site. So we talked a lot about those things.
So the membership site is really the primary focus of her business. Releasing books on Amazon is second, or any other subsequent site. Second, it seems like. So
it was really interesting to talk to her because it's a completely different way of a business model. And it was really interesting. And like she said, she did her membership on her personal website or a website because Patreon didn't exist when she first started. So she's been doing this for a long time.
She created her own.
And so she doesn't necessarily recommend that for somebody starting out now, but that's what she did. And she's making it work. And we just enjoyed talking to her and kind of getting a different perspective. It was, I thought it was great. It
was really good. So what's been going on with you this week?
Well, I'm back from a cruise. Had a great time. It was really good. I did not take my laptop with me.
Awesome.
So that was a big step for me. Just
Very
because
good.
I was like, oh, if something happens, but I didn't need it. It was fine. And we had a good time, and it was so hot though. I wouldn't recommend going to Mexico in June. If you can choose another month, probably wait until the fall or the winter. It was a lot of fun though.
Yeah. It is. I love them. I love cruises.
Yeah. So we had a good time. Great. We'll probably do another one, but we're definitely going to wait a couple months before we do it. We had some friends that had never cruised. They went on a cruise and they loved it so much. They went home. They had time off. They went home, I guess did their laundry and stuff, repacked, and went on another one. Like, cause you can book a cruise when you're on the cruise. And they said they did 3 in a row. And
oh my gosh.
Wow. Were these like short cruises? I didn't get all the details. But we're going to put it off a little bit.
Yeah. You're not doing that.
Not right away. It was fun, but we're going to take a break because it was hot.
That's good. Yeah.
So.
Summers are hot. Yeah.
So what about you? I mean, I don't have much writing stuff to talk about. So
I don't either. So, I mean, I have one tip thing, but I've been teaching swimming lessons at my daughter's and for the last now 3 weeks. And I have another week to go, and then I'm going to go home for a week, and then I'm going to come back for 2 weeks, and then I'll be done. But I'm tired, but it's been good. It's just been good. It's been good. It's kind of stressful at times, but funny at times. I mean, I've been posting some of the funny things the kids have said. Yesterday, I was like, child, so I won't say the name, but are you listening to me? And he says, no, I'm looking at your belly button. At least he's honest.
Oh, kids, man. Such
I know.
Good, funny stuff from kids.
I know. But anyway, one of the things that writing wise, so I'm going to be part of the Zoe Bub this Friday, the 30th. And I went in to set my book to free. And of course, it said that I couldn't do free because it was about to be it was going to be re-enrolled into KDP on the 22nd, I think, of June. And it's like it blocks out a whole week or 2 weeks or 10 days, something like that. And you can't schedule any free promos after that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'd already filled out the stuff with Zoe and I don't want to create more work for them. And so I I just messaged KDP and said, hey, is there some way around this? And the guy was like, yeah, just go in the day after it renews and schedule your promo. And I was like, what? What?
So simple.
You can just do that. So I didn't know that. And I've this is not the first time this has happened to me. And I've just gone, oh, I've got to change books or this isn't going to work. And no, it's not a big deal. I literally went in on the 23rd and set up my free promo. I mean, so if you don't know, if you're like me and have been doing this for 5 years and didn't know that, then there you go. If you're new, here's your little bit of information. Yeah. So
that's great.
No
well,
idea.
I think that's great. And there's always things that we find out later on that we're like, oh, no, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So that makes perfect sense.
It was so weird.
So I do have one writing related thing. I took a screenshot the other day. I was scrolling through Twitter and I just thought this was really good because we talk about failure and like how hard it is and how difficult bad reviews can be. So Becca Syme, everybody take a drink. She replied to a question. If you could tell your younger writing self anything, what would it be? And she said, a successful author friend once said, if I knew how many 1-star reviews it would take me to get to $1 million, I would have wanted them to come so much faster.
Oh.
And I was like, that is a completely different point of view on what some people would consider something that would be bad. Yep. But it's like you reframe it and think of it in a different way.
Right.
And anyway, I just thought that was good. So I thought I took a screenshot so I could share that. So that's your encouraging word for the day.
Right. I love that. Yeah. Fail faster and get it over with.
Yeah.
But you never really get it over with. Yeah. And move on. You never really get it over with. I know. At Inkers Con, which we're going to talk about on a future episode, I was talking to Inez Johnson and she was like, her big thing is fail fast, learn from it and move on. I'm like, I really want that mindset, but I have to spiral first after I fail.
So you just build that in, build that time in, fail, spiral.
Literally looked at me like I was speaking another language. She just did not even understand that. Yeah. I'm like, I wish I was that confident. Well, I wish that I had that mindset of failing fast, moving on.
Yeah, I think that is a gift. You may, if you have that mindset, you don't realize that is a gift. I know everybody has different struggles with different things, but like for you and I mean, I remember taking piano lessons and playing the piano and I'd play a wrong note and I go, and my teacher would be like, it's okay. It was a wrong note, but it was like, I didn't want to do anything wrong, especially when I was a kid and you carry that over. So I totally get it.
We're in therapy for that.
We're working on it.
I know. Exactly. So we don't have any new supporters this month, but that's fine. We really appreciate the ones we have. Thank you all very much.
Yes. So thank you for supporting us and continuing to do so. We really appreciate it. It just makes the podcast, it gives us some financial support and it lets us know that you want us to keep doing it. So we really appreciate it.
We do.
And this month we also do have an industry supporter. We've got Vellum, which we love, as we've talked about a little bit this month. And I did start when I came back from I spent a day after I got home, just kind of going through email and stuff. Yeah. And then the next day I started on formatting my book. I'm going to do another Kickstarter. And so I went into Vellum. And remember, I told you last time we talked about this, I said, I think there's an easier way to do what I did for the interior. And there is. I found it. So they have these beautiful page backgrounds. Like if you want to do if you want to do a chapter heading, you can do a small image. Or if you want the whole top part of your page of each chapter heading to be a full bleed image, you can do that. And they have some that are already in there that you just select them. And then you can customize it and do your own. So that's what I did for this one that's coming up. And then you can make it, I think, 1 page or 2 pages. So if you have, it could go across, you could have a full bleed on both sides of the page when you get to a new chapter.
So great. It's so cool that we can do that. I love that.
I know. And there's so many ways you can make your book look extra special. So and they're super easy to use.
Right. And have we talked about how just the ease of changing back matter and stuff like that?
I think we did the first time, but tell about that again. Just because that's something.
The biggest thing for me, because my first 2 books, I did not have vellum. A friend of mine was doing it for me, and she wasn't even charging me. Well, maybe she charged me $20 or something. I mean, it was nothing, but I hated asking her, hey, can you go in and change this? And it just makes it so easy to change your back matter and to update your back matter. And if you're wide, holy cow, I can't even imagine all the different headache. Yeah, because you can't have the same links in the back of all your books, can you? Or
you can't. Well, you can't
have a redirect link, could you?
Well, you can't have like a link that goes to Apple in a book that goes out on Kobo. Yeah. I mean, you're not supposed to. Like some retailers are way pickier about that than some. Most, I think it is Apple who will kick them back if you have any other retailer link in your book.
Right.
They won't. They won't upload it.
So just having the ease and the convenience of going in and doing that whenever you need to is that. For me, that's one of the huge benefits of vellum, and I'm not even wide, but knowing that if I want to go in and update my back matter, or if I want to add something like a chapter or something like that, or take something out, I can do that literally in minutes. And I love it for that.
Yeah, me too. And that's on my to-do list, is to go in and update my back matter now that I have my store. And I'm just going to direct people to my store.
Yeah.
And that will be, but then I've got to go in and change all the back matter. Yeah. But it will not be such a big process because it will be easy. Right. And then because
you can control it. Yeah. And you can control it.
Yeah. And then the other thing I like about vellum is you can pay each time you use it if you only need it a couple of times, or you can pay once. It's a one-time fee, which, a lot of products now are recurring fees each month. And so if you purchase it, you get the updates, and it's just super easy to use. So we highly recommend it.
Yeah. We love it. We love it.
Yeah.
So we should probably get on with the interview, shouldn't we?
Yes, but we should mention the link.
Oh, y'all, we're so bad at this. Sorry, Vellum.
All right. So here's the link if you want to check it out. It's tryvellum.com/wish, WISH.
There you go.
Yeah, so now we should get on.
Yeah, I should say I'm really bad at this. Sorry, Vellum. Not Sarah. If it weren't for Sarah, we may never get this out.
No, it takes both of us to get this going. It's a team effort.
All right, here's Raythe. She's awesome.
All right. Well, today we're very excited to talk to Raythe Rain. Hi, Raythe. How are you?
I am doing great. It's so great to be here.
Well, we are happy to hear. We're happy you're here. However, your voice may clash with our voice because yours is very smooth. Ours is very
This
southern.
Is going to be one of those that people listen to just for your voice.
That is so kind. No, I actually do some of my own recording, so I've gotten a little bit better at speaking into a microphone. We'll see.
Yeah,
that's great. All right, well, let me read your bio and we'll get right into the questions. A writer of gay paranormal serials, novel serials, and the Dragon's Reign and Everdark Gray romance fiction podcast is with us today, Raythe Rain.
Exactly. Got it.
Well, how'd you get into writing, Ray?
Oh, my God. Honestly, my mother claims that I was telling her stories before I could even read or write.
Oh, wow.
And I have to admit, I was actually writing gay romance by the time I was 10. I don't know how that was a thing, but it was. I am 49 now, so you can get an idea of when that was. That wasn't even a sparkle in the eye. Fan fiction wasn't even there. And I just started doing it. I'm not quite sure why, but from the very beginning, I've just had this desire to tell people stories and tell people gay romance stories.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I wonder why at 10. That's so I think it's insightful. I think it's great.
I almost feel, and I worry a little bit about this because I think I read a lot in the genres of fantasy and science fiction, which back in the day, the point of view characters were male. You did have some female characters, but it wasn't as prevalent. And I think that became my point of view. And then later, I can tell you why I continued, I felt that romance was a little restrictive when it was heteronormative, because the female character had to be someone the reader could identify with, whether they could put themselves in her shoes, want to be her best friend. And I found that very restrictive because you couldn't make them, in my opinion, other people probably have different, very varying opinions. You couldn't make them as complicated as I wish to make them, and maybe not likable. Totally.
Yeah.
So that's where I just felt there was more freedom. And so I continued on.
Yeah. I love that you can explore a character's, a heroine's unlikable side. I love that. Yeah. That's right. Because we all have them.
We do, right?
Yeah.
We do. Yeah. But, a romance has an aspect of heightened fantasy in it, even if it's contemporary, I think. And so I don't want to say idealized characters, but to a certain extent we do. And I just found that the available prototypes for women in these roles were just not as expansive, although I think that's definitely changing. And I'm glad my readers have been really open, quite frankly, to having it's the stereotypical strong female characters, complicated female characters who have huge roles in the stories.
Right. You were a trendsetter, I think. Now we're seeing a lot more of that, but sounds like you were on it early. So
yeah.
Well, what is your definition of success?
That is a great question. And I ask myself that a lot because I, quite frankly, still feel like I'm scrabbling to find it. I told myself once we hit 1,000 members on the serial website, raythe.com, it would be a success. We hit that. I did not feel like a success. Well, what about 2,000 or 3,000? Still don't feel like a success. It's very strange to know that the more people I had reading and consuming the content and speaking with me, I just always feel like, oh, well, what if there was just one more person? Even monetarily, when we got to the point where I can hire people to work for me and they have pretty much full-time salaries, has not been enough. So I keep going. My next goal, to be perfectly honest with you, is either to have an anime or live action done of one of my works. Right now, we're doing a full narrated cast. It's like there's 8 actors who are incredible, who are voicing Everdark, which is a gay vampire romance on YouTube and Spotify. And that's just given me another taste. So now it's like, well, success will be doing an anime. Success will be doing live action. Believe me, I'll have another goal after that.
Right. You're a goalpost mover.
Yeah. So I was going to say the goals that we talked to so many people that's what they say, like their first goal, is just to get the book written. And then as you hit those marks, it just continues to expand.
I have over 30 serials on the site and dozens of books written. So I guess for me, it sort of like becomes addictive to just be like, well, what's the next story you're going to tell?
Yeah.
What's the next reaction you're going to get? Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great place to be.
It feels crazy to have done it this long and still feel like a newbie at it, which I love because you're never sitting on your laurels.
Yeah.
What do you wish you'd known about writing and craft when you started?
Oh my God, world building.
Especially for what you do. Yeah.
Yes. Because you guys, I don't know, high fantasy requires extensive world building as a science fiction, and they all do. I really, when I started though, what I would do is I would just have like an idea and like to the main couple, and I think I'd wing the rest. Because with serials, you get to really, how I do them in any event, I'm writing that first chapter, I'm giving it to my readers, I'm asking them what they think, and I'm really like, ooh, I'm lithe and nimble, and I can like change whatever. No, don't do that, because you don't have an idea about the world and have concrete stuff. So by chapter 50, suddenly you're introducing concepts that should have been there in chapter 2. So I have learned my lesson, and I can honestly say I love when the readers say, Raythe, you've come a long way. You're such a better writer now. And I feel so proud. I'm like, yes, Yes, I am.
Well, how long are your serials typically? That was my question.
Oh my God. 500 to 750,000 words.
Okay. So like how many installments do you have?
Well,
it probably varies, right?
It varies. A short serial for me would be 60 chapters, which would be approximately 300,000 words. Yeah, that would be a short one. A lot of them are in the 140 chapter range, which is again like 500, 600,000. And then we have, I guess we have the next volume sometimes, like Everdark, for example, is Everdark Academy, which is going to be just as big. So these things are millions of words long. Yeah. I don't talk in pages, by the way, because with it being on the website, although we do now have hardbacks, hardcovers, and paperbacks and ebooks, I just think of it more in terms of words. That's my output.
That's how I do it too. Yeah. Though mine are much shorter.
As Jamie and I pick our chins up off the floor. Exactly. I mean, that's like a lot. I mean, to wing that amount of material, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, what I found that it taught me, which I absolutely now love, because I think, especially, I'm sure most beginning writers come to you too with this same question. Well, how do you finish the novel? And it's like, if you get hung up on each word, each sentence, each paragraph, each chapter, if you think there's one book in you and that's it, you want to get that perfect. And we all know that's not how writing is. You have to just get it out. And then the next book will be better. And the book after that will be better, because you need to writing is a muscle as much as it is like a craft. Yes. And so when I let go of the idea of perfection, like this book is not going to be that, Socratic thought of like the perfect chair out there. Every book has its good parts, its bad parts, things you wish you'd done differently. I think that really helped me up my production. And also using the Pomodoro method of 20 minutes writing, 20 minutes doing something else, 20 minutes writing, and knowing that my audience is there I write 3 chapters a week for reading for them. They're waiting to read them. Wow. I have to get them out. Yeah. And it's got to be somehow good. Yeah. And I've been doing that since 2010 and it's now 2023.
Wow.
So, yeah.
How are the wrists and the fingers?
Shockingly okay. I feel like knocking on wood for that. I did try to do, because I really loved the dictation software, but it made names and mistakes, and you read what's there, what you think should be there, not what's there. It caused massive issues. Yeah. So I'm like, nope, got to just type, man.
Yeah. I think with my fingers. That's how that's where I've landed on that. I think with my fingers. So Sarah does dictate.
Yeah. I do some dictation, but you're right. There is a lot of cleanup involved. So,
and I'm terrible at it as it is. But what I do love about dictation is the dialogue is far better. It's very more accurate to how people speak, because you're literally speaking it out loud.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Well, what about marketing? What do you wish you'd known about marketing?
I'd wish I'd had Kat, my marketer, from the beginning. I did not.
Yeah.
So Raythe Rain is its standalone website, meaning that we have to draw people to it. It's not like putting a book up on Amazon or Barnes and Noble or Apple, where they are bringing you the audience, and hopefully you are supplying a product that that audience wants, right? We have to draw people to Raythe Rain, which is a weird concept in and of itself. I mean, the name is weird. Why I thought that was a good idea, don't ask. But now no one's ever going to, if anyone copies it, that they're copying me. They're, whatever. But we have to draw people to the website, convince them that what we're selling is actually legitimate and we're not some kind of weird scammer wanting their credit card. And to invest in a commitment, i.e. a membership versus a one-off sales product, although we're doing more one-off sales products too now. So marketing is also, for gay romance, is a really hard thing, because they see K and they say porn. Literally doesn't matter if it's cleaner than a Harlequin romance. Does not matter. It's not family friendly.
Yeah, that's too bad.
So we actually developed the podcast in order to have a free product that, like, for example, YouTube or, Spotify say, the way to get someone is to give them a taste of something. And we actually give them most everything, excluding the sexy parts, because those aren't allowed on those particular platforms. So if they want the clean, the full, they come to us at Raythe, and we've just had people signing up for that and staying on for the rest of it.
Yeah. So it's a lead magnet in a way.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, so smart. So smart.
Yeah.
And it's creating new art. Especially with the other actors, it's like that idea of the third artist. There's me as the writer, them as the actors, and then the product is the third artist.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Sarah.
No, that's okay. You go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask the next question. So
you go for
ahead. We're going to leg wrestle and then we'll get back to you. Right. What assumptions did you make at the beginning of your writing career, and looking back, did they turn out to be right or wrong?
I actually was delusional in a lot of ways.
As we all are.
As we all are. On the one hand, I thought my stuff was too weird for any trad publisher to ever like.
Yeah.
Which meant that, how many people were really going to like it and read it. But on the other hand, what ended up happening is that there are plenty of people. And I think that Amazon KDP has proven that. I think that indie authors can really, quite frankly, I mean, how many times have we heard that vampires are over? Like, I remember after like Twilight and they said, oh, they're over. There's no more vampires. Or, werewolves. Oh, well, no one will ever read that. Like, what? What now?
I know. Exactly.
So, I think that I made assumptions that my stuff was really weird and I didn't think anyone would read it. Yet in the same time, I built Raythe on credit cards, thinking that somebody must have and that they'd pay money to read this. So it was like a very strange, I'm like totally delusional here, but I'm doing this anyway because I loved these stories and I wanted to share them no matter what. And I was willing to put my money where my mouth was to get this out to people. And here we are 13 years later. And it's, I have employees, I have actors. So it's crazy.
Yeah. I think a lot of us assume that I think it's changed, like you said, but years ago, people assumed, oh, this is too small. The audience is too small. But really, if you have a small audience, sometimes that's like even better than the wide audience because you're able to focus so much more.
You're able to serve them best. And I always think that as broad of like listeners as we have, like on Spotify, like we have 180,000 listeners on Spotify or something like that. But truthfully, I think of the membership, which we have like 4,000 members, that's sort of like whom I'm serving best because they are the ones who are invested to, be with me and give me feedback. And it allows me to be experimental. I can fail, I can succeed. And quite frankly, they're there for both. So that lets me have a sense of that. Although as it gets bigger and bigger, I'm still thinking it's small and it's like not quite accurate. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. But they're the ones that are there. They're your super fans.
Yes.
So they're like the closest circle to,
Exactly.
Well, we're going to get back to the membership because we want to learn more about that. But before we get to that, what is the most important lesson you've learned?
That's a really good point. I think the most important lesson I've learned is actually probably not good for most writers if you're writing on Amazon or all this stuff, which is I do not chase trends. And I do, though, stick with what my trope is, which is normally like a chosen one trope with like heroic aspects and like, for example, with the romance, it's normally older man, younger man, and there is like the younger man is actually someone special. So, and the older man's like a vampire or an elven king or something like that, dragon king or whatever. I really like that. And there's, add humor into it. So what I would say is I've remained true to what I love and written what I love. But if I were to advise, for example, a writer who's writing to KDP, you should find something you love, but it should also be like something else out there, because that's how that algorithm works. So I feel very lucky, incredibly lucky, that I established Raythe Rain and it succeeded. But it is not the same as if I were writing, purely for Amazon, because truthfully, I hate to say it, Amazon is your customer as much as the audience they're bringing to you.
Yeah.
And who they'll serve your stuff to. So I just want to caution those who listen to me and like, I should just write what I love. Yes, you should. And you should try to see if that works. But if you're really going out to make a professional living at it, I would sincerely think study the market, study what's, the bestseller lists, find something that speaks to you and understand the tropes in that.
Right. I think that's very wise advice, but I love what you've done too. So I think that really it can work either way, but you are correct. Yeah. When it comes to Amazon, there are just things that their algorithm grabs onto that you need to consider.
Yeah.
What's the biggest change you've had in your mindset over the years?
Well, I think I've had to continually take risks, and that's very hard for me. And when I say that, so Kat's my marketer, and we always do an ROI. It's like and we always do it so that we've been profitable, throughout the career. So I've made sure that everybody gets paid, and, it's never a question of that. But when we realized that I'll give you an example. Facebook's decided that you cannot target anyone who is interested in gay pride or is interested in certain magazines like that. They think they're protecting the gay community. They are not. They are not, but that's what they're doing. So we were doing advertisements, but we were not able to do like vampires and LGBTQ plus, because we wanted to make sure that the people that were being served our ad, for example, would be interested, or at least not offended and not tell me I'm going to hell, which happens a lot. And they got rid of that targeting. So now I've got vampires. Okay. Well, that audience is more maybe transgressive, because vampires themselves are transgressive in a weird way. But we still get you're going to hell, this is disgusting, and all this stuff and more. So when we started seeing that, our main advertising venue, Facebook, was suddenly not real great. So we had to think, what are we going to do? And that's when we really considered doing Everdark, the vampire podcast, on YouTube, and having that be a way to reach people. And so I decided, well, am I going to do it myself? And I said, no, you know what? I can't. It's so much work. Maybe I'll hire these two actors I know who have done my other books to do this. But it's a lot of money and responsibility. It's a lot of money to pay per finished hour these guys who are high. But it was like, do I take this risk? Do I invest in this and assume that the product will return a profit and get more people in and do what we needed to do? And it has, but that was a huge risk to take. And it's grown and it's grown and it's grown and it's grown. It's been fantastic. Like I said, we have now 8 actors, and we're going to have more for, when it's going forward with Everdark Academy. And quite frankly, I'm now doing audio versions of every new serial that I'm doing, to just give you an idea of how that's changed. But you have to keep challenging yourself, challenging your assumptions, going out of your comfort zone. Even 13 years in as a company, you have to be able to grow. And what do you need to do that? And you have to say, instead of saying no, 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 maybe it needs to be yes, yes, yes.
Right. Yeah. How many people do you have on your team?
So there is Kat, my marketing person. Jeremy is the tech wizard, because we need him for the site to help people and keep it running and keep it safe. I have Sylvia Frost, who is our graphic designer, does all the beautiful stuff. I have Mathia Arcanel, who is one of our in-house artists. I have T Wolf, who does manga. And those are the main people for Raythe itself. And then her Grace Reads is our partner to do the podcasts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
That's impressive.
That's wonderful.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and that's why you can create quality products, because you have a team to support that, and you can write.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. One person could not do all that.
No. And that's when I don't get it as much anymore. But back in the day, I would get people asking me, well, how can I do this myself? And I would get authors doing this. And I'm like, look, you have to be, first of all, you have to be the type of writer that can write consistently on a schedule. And not most people can do that. A lot of these writers now can. Don't get me wrong, they can. And they blow my productivity out of the water. But a lot of them cannot. And it's like, when people pay you money for you to get that chapter out, you need to get that chapter out. I said, then the second thing is you've got to be technologically savvy, i.e., you're not going to just be writing the stories, but you need to either have someone or have the ability to service people with that. Third thing, you got to be a marketer. Or get a marketer. How are you going to get people to your product, to your website? How are they going to trust you? How are you going to get all the copy up there? How are you going to make this work? So you can imagine that this is like, before we had Sylvia Frost, who's the graphic designer, our graphics were crap. We had the most beautiful art, but we were like using Comic Sans. It just did not look right. I'm telling you, text is where it's at.
Yes.
Please.
Yes. And if you're not a graphic artist, it is hard to pinpoint what's wrong. You just know something's not right, and you need that expert to come in and do it for you.
Unfortunately, our tendency is to throw some graphic sand at it. But Sans at it.
Comic Sans is like
Comic Sans, not graphic sans, Comic Sans.
But so I think like with every step, you become more professional, and you understand what's happening here.
Right.
So I would tell people, like, it's not just the writing. The writing is almost the least part of everything that needs to happen for Raythe to exist.
Right.
So, and you have to manage people, because if you eventually become a business owner, I have people who I am managing who work for me. I have to be thinking of them and their needs and my needs. And it's, so yeah.
Well, that is fascinating to hear that. And it's like a glimpse into a world that I think a lot of authors would like to achieve, but it's, quite a journey to get there. But a lot of the authors that we have listening are very new. So if you were starting over today, what would you do differently, like in this time frame? Would you change how you did things? Would you do things the same?
I don't think that building Raythe today would be necessary. You could use potentially. Now, I say this feeling like I have the best possible situation. So keep this in mind. So I'm not suggesting that people don't look at this, because some authors who have been doing the serials, like, have actually decided they're going to band together with other authors and do websites like mine and have basically the KU equivalent of their particular, romance area, which is great to see that happening. But doing all of this, getting a tech person, a marketer, a graphic designer, artists, this was a lot of work and a lot of luck, and it took a lot of money. I mean, it took a ton of money to get it up and going. Whereas today, you could operate a Patreon. However, I keep this in mind. I've heard rumors that Patreon are basically like blacklisting romance authors because of the sexy time stuff. They don't want it. And they make that's problematic for them, supposedly. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I've been hearing in the grapevine. Because again, when someone else controls who gets to see you, when they control that website, they are the ones that get to choose who they support and don't support and how much support you get. But you also then have a Patreon, you have basically Royal Road, where a lot of people would start their big serials and then they would have people go to Patreon. You also have obviously Amazon KDP. You have ways to have your books up on Apple and stuff. I think if I were to tell anyone to start now, I would say do the route that's open and has the least amount of investment for you to begin with. Investment's going to be your time, i.e., really understanding your genre, understanding its tropes, working on your craft, getting your books out on a consistent basis, building your either email list or Patreon. So there's stuff that's out there to support people. Building Raythe Rain was something I did because simply none of these things existed really
in 2002.
Yeah. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, but I love what I've built, and I feel like it's really secured me against the, basically the ebbs and flows of, what Amazon's going to do or what Apple's going to do or what YouTube's going to do or Patreon. So if you are established and you've done this, you might be able to think, maybe I could create a website afterwards and do this, maybe with a bunch of other authors, because I think I am insane to do as much as I do. But I'm like driven. I'm totally driven to do it. But if you're a new author, don't do this route. Take the routes that are open to you so that you can learn your craft, gain your audience, do it, because that just getting those books out, getting those words down on the page is going to be the success story for you. Before you take on all this other craziness of, website like this.
Right. I think that's great advice. Because, you can always create something later with an audience, which is much easier. Yeah. Well, tell us about your membership site and then how you pair that with a wide release later.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. Make sense. So Raythe Rain, you sign up as you would for it's a recurring membership, which means think of your gym membership. Guess what? You get billed every month, but guess what? It's not hard to, cancel. God, we make it very easy. So you sign up for a month, 3 months, 6 months, or a year. So that's how there's the tiers that are out there. And obviously you save money the more that you would subscribe to it first. Like the year is much less than if you paid month to month for a year. And you will get access to a library of, oh my God, like I said, 30 serials, millions of words, plus dozens of manga, because we also create manga off of my work with an amazing manga artist. She's just spectacular. You get all of the uncut but fully edited chapters of Everdark, Dragon's Reign podcast, and Sexy Time chapters of Empire of Stars. So what my oral works of my written works. And going forward, there will be any new serial I do that will have an audio component that will be part of your membership. And so you'll be able to listen to it and read it as it comes out, like 1-to-1. And then what I've been doing is then I've been taking, for example, Everdark, which is that gay romance vampire serial. We put it into 8 to 9 hour chunks of audio for an audiobook, and we create an ebook of that, a hardcover. We're going to do paperbacks, and you can get the ebooks on Amazon. I'm going to go wider than that, but it's such a pain sometimes, quite frankly, to put it on Barnes & Noble and Apple, because they keep, and we never got any traction despite being wide. But we also have our own shop where you can purchase this stuff. So if you purchase, for example, a hardcover volume 1, I write you a note in there, sign it, wrap it up, and send it off and stuff. So that's sort of how this is working. Now, are all the serials on Amazon? No. Only the ones that I am doing with these audio books for. So you'll be able to get this material. Right. You'll be able to buy it individually. But members get it first and they get included. So that's how that works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. That's very interesting.
You have such a large amount of content. I could see how somebody might come in and they would want to stay.
Yeah.
Because they get interested in the stories, but then there's all this extra for them to delve into. So if you have a big backlist, it could be, I've heard of authors that they just want their readers to come in and just read to their heart's content and just immerse themselves in their world.
Exactly. I think of myself as the Patterson of writers, which means that you consistently get, it's not the same story at all. It's all different. But if you like one of them, you know that you're going to like the other ones, even if it's science fiction versus fantasy versus urban fantasy, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, that is fascinating. And I'm glad we got to talk to you about this, because we talked a lot about subscription lately. And there is Ream, which is kind of the alternative to Patreon now, where it's run by authors. So there's that if somebody wants to do that. But it's good to talk to somebody who's doing it completely different, just to give people different ideas. So, yeah. And so on your podcast, is there anything that you wish you had known about podcasting audiobooks, looking back?
Oh, God. Yeah. Well, so I started doing it myself right around when the pandemic happened, to do Dragon's Reign, which was one of my favorite serials. And the first time I was doing it, we just did not know what the heck we were doing. I mean, you'd have my cat in the background. You'd be like, Mew, get out of here. And then my marketer, who also does all the sound tech, because of course we were doing it all together, would keep that in because it was funny. So, but we are actually, for example, redoing Dragon's Reign right now with my professional setup, and it will be audiobook grade quality. And we are going to make this available for people to purchase. Because one thing that I think when I first started the serial business, I was really afraid if I allowed things to be purchased individually, that the membership would just die in the vine. Because if you could purchase it individually, why, even though it costs a hell of a lot less to have a 1 month of Raythe Reign than to purchase, all these volumes of stories. But still, I was like, I didn't believe enough in the fact that the members, by the way, people have been there since the beginning, are still with me, which is crazy. That there is the interaction that they really enjoy, and they feel that they're supporting me by being a part of the membership, and they love the interactivity of talking to other members and being able to comment and be able to follow the story as it goes along in its rawest form. So that's been huge. But I will have to say that I really didn't understand with the audio how much people would love it and how it would sustain and enhance the membership, the serial aspect of it. And now, like I said, I'm doing every single one. And now you can purchase the serials in individual books, purchase the audio in individual audio books. And it's actually been a synergy between the two. Some people will purchase it. Some people will become members. Some people do both.
So you just offer everything and let them pick. I mean, I think that's a great system, instead of saying, oh, I'm never going to do print books, or I'm never going to do this, because somebody will like that.
Yes. And I just realized what I was doing was acting out of fear. And that's one thing that I think as authors that we have to really get over, because we're exposing ourselves. Every story is an expose of our interior in some ways, is to not act out of fear, and to give the reader as much choice as possible in how they wish to consume our work and where they wish to consume it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just such a great mindset. I love that.
It's something I'm working on still. I'll be honest with you. It's still hard, and I'm still learning even after all this time.
But that's great. Yeah, that's great. And you also have merchandise on your site too, right?
We do. We have the fun stuff. We're still figuring out what people want, because I'll be honest with you. I mean, I think, oh, that will never sell. And that's the thing that sells. And the thing I thought was so cool is like, we don't sell any of that.
Yeah.
So, and even when you ask up front what people would like, that doesn't necessarily mean what they buy.
No.
It's just like bizarre.
Yes.
Like the hardcovers, they're $50 a pop. I thought nobody was going to buy those. That is the majority we sell. I mean, the audiobooks are the top thing, but quite frankly, the hardcovers are the things that fly off the shelves. I run out of them. And I'm like, I love you guys, but this is like crazy town.
Yeah.
Wow.
I always think I wouldn't pay $50 for a book. But
I mean,
probably not true, but I think that,
well, and there's not just one. Each one costs, and there'll be 9 volumes in the Everdark series, and people have been buying each and every one.
Wow.
That's a lot of money to commit.
Yes.
unfortunately, like Ingram Spark does not make it cheap to print these with the, all of it. They really don't. It has to be printed and then it has to be shipped to me. And then I have to sign it and package it and send it all out. So there's just these additional costs, but it's really been a thrill, to be honest with you, to physically hold a book, which I thought I didn't care about, sign it and, put the note in and give this to people. It's been very satisfying.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, just like you were saying, you give the readers the choice, right, and you don't act out of fear, and you do things like that, and then you're pleasantly surprised. Sometimes you're not, but a lot of times you are, and then you're like have a whole new income stream.
Exactly. Like I said, we are redoing Dragon's Reign, and we're also going to do ebooks and paperbacks and hardcovers of it. We should have done that from the beginning. People were asking, but I don't know. I don't know if I didn't believe it, or I was like, no, you have to go to the membership site and do it the way I want you to do it.
Right.
That was dumb.
Yeah. That's okay. Live and learn.
Yeah.
That's what this podcast is about.
Oh, well, this has been so great to talk to you.
Yes. It's been awesome.
Get a little insight into the way you sell books and reach your readers. So we always like to ask, what's the best thing you've done to set yourself up for success?
The best thing I've done is put my butt in the chair and write. I mean, honestly,
now I feel attacked.
It is the fantasy of being an author is sometimes the easier part.
Yes.
But, if you have an idea for a story, write it. Don't worry about if it's going to be perfect. It won't. I'm telling you right now, it won't. And you just write it and enjoy it. And it is a hard process, but it is worth it. There's just nothing. I feel like the best use of any gift I might have is writing these stories. And it's been the best part of my life so far. So there we go.
Great. That's awesome. That's awesome. Great. Well, tell people where they can find out more about you and all the good stuff.
All right. So the membership site is raythereign.com, RaytheReign.com, or you can go to YouTube, and if you just put in Raythe Reign or Everdark, it will come up and you can check out some of the, actors' work or my work and listen to it for free. So, and also Spotify, you can do the same thing, iHeartRadio, Apple, iTunes, so all that. So you can just check it out, and that'll lead you to more information about us.
That's great.
That's awesome. Terrific. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we will have all those links at the show notes at wishidknownforwriters.com. And don't forget about our sponsor, Vellum, this month. And we will see everybody next week. Thanks for listening, everyone. Bye.
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 Thanks for listening to the Wish I'd Known Then podcast. We hope this episode inspired you, empowered you, and made you laugh a little bit too. If you loved it, tell your friends about it. And if you feel so inclined, leave us a review. We look forward to being with you again next week.